Good morning. Call to order the April 25th, 2023 meeting of the Saline County Board of Commissioners. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hay?
Here.
Commissioner Shadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Sparks?
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson?
Here.
Commissioner Weeks?
Here. I ask that you please stand and join me in a flag salute followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now move to the citizens input portion of our meeting where citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes, and items not pertaining to today's agenda. Does anyone wish to address the commission? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for the approval of the consent agenda, and it is a lengthy one today, 13 items. Approval of tax roll adjustments, approval of accounts payable, approval of public forum, approval of the payroll, approval of county commission minutes of April 4th, county commission minutes of April 11th, community leasing partners agreement, community corrections fiscal year 2023, unexpected funds budget amendment and signatory approval, community corrections third quarter juvenile budget amendment, community corrections fiscal year 24 juvenile services grant application, fiscal year 24-25 reinvestment grant application, and a memorandum of understanding and signatory approval, community corrections fiscal year 24 adult services comprehensive plan, Saline County HD, the health department, and Ellsworth County Health Department annual letter of understanding for the year 2024. Any commissioners wish to pull anything from that or approve it?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Okay. Now we move into my favorite part of the entire year on presentations. And it's a lot of fun to do this, but I'll let you announce it.
2023 Oliver Hagg Scholarship Awards with David Flaherty.
Good morning, David.
Morning, Commissioners. How are you this morning?
Good morning.
Today I'm here for the presentation of the Oliver Hagg Scholarships. I'll give you a little bit about the scholarship. It's approximately 31 years ago. A gentleman by the name of Oliver Hagg willed to Saline County 1,100 acres of farm ground. In his will, he stated that it was his wish the land be used for conservation and education. There have been numerous projects done on the farm over the years, but one of the most important things there was in 2001 is when Saline County established the Oliver Hagg Memorial Scholarship Fund. Each year, a renewable $1,000 scholarship is awarded to Saline County high school senior. The criteria for the scholarship is community involvement, strong schoolwork ethics, and the applicant's desire to continue his or her post-secondary education in the field of agricultural. 2023 Oliver Hagg scholarships. We did have a decent number turn out for them. We had 7 total. 5 of them were chosen as the best. I do have one that will not be here today. Her name is Maureen Kame. She is from Saline High School. She has a national scholarship she had to go to today. So with that, if there's any questions before I start with their names.
David, we're awarding 5 scholarships today, is that correct?
Correct.
And how many continuing ones are there that we have still ongoing?
There's 12 total. 12 continuing and then plus the 5.
17 total. I think Mr. Hagg would be pretty proud of what the county and the students are, what this has done. And I know most of the parents should be pretty happy with getting, it's tough sending kids to college these days. So I would encourage the students, make sure you keep those grades up and work hard for mom and dad, if not for yourself. Mom and dad can sure use the money probably. If they're like me anyway, they can. So, at that having been said, any other commissioners wish to speak? I guess we can present these one at a time. And if they'd
Yep.
come forward, if they want a picture, they can get it.
So I will start with the ladies. First on it would be Alicia Will. You just want to tell them a little bit about you if you want.
Hello, I'm Alicia Will. I go to Saline Central High School, and next year I'm planning on going to McPherson College, and my major is going to be biology with an emphasis in pre-vet, because I want to then go to K-State for veterinary school.
Well, congratulations. You want to come forward? I'll,
Go ahead.
parents or anybody wants a picture? Why? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Get it? Thank you.
Next one we have Ava Zerger.
Good morning. My name is Ava Zerger, and I'm currently homeschooled. Next year, I plan to attend Fort Hays State University and major in animal science.
Okay.
Congratulations, Ava.
Thank you.
Now go with the gentleman, Luke Gebhardt.
Hello, my name's Luke Gebhardt, and I go to Southeast of Saline, and next year I plan to go to Fort Hays and major in ag business.
All right. Congratulations, Luke. Can you get a picture there? I think you had an outstanding year in the sports events too at Southeast, so congratulations on those accomplishments.
Congratulations. And Blake Holmes.
Good morning, I'm Blake Holmes. I do the Kansas Online Learning Program, and next year I plan on attending Saline Area Technical College for diesel technology.
Okay. Congratulations, Blake. I know that diesel mechanics, is that what you said it was? Yep. Is pretty important in today's world too, so congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Any other questions or?
Nope, thanks a lot for doing this, and you and your committee to the selections, and looks like you have a good group.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you.
And by the way, these meetings can get kind of boring maybe, so if anyone wishes to leave now, you're it's so due.
Excuse me?
It's okay.
Boring? Wait.
Mass exodus.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
We're just getting started.
Okay, we'll move to item number 2.
Saline County Health Department recognition with Jason Tillers, Saline County Health Department.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Jason, and I'm going to steal your thunder before you get started. This is with a great deal of pleasure that myself and the rest of the commission acknowledge you and particularly the lab department for the award that they received, or I don't know if it's an award, but they had an inspection from, you can tell me what the group was?
So it's our CLIA inspection, which is the Clinical Laboratory Improvements Amendment. It's a federal program that's managed by the states that regulates and ensures quality of laboratory testing.
And they got a rating of 0 deficiencies. I haven't heard of anybody getting 0 deficiencies in anything in today's world, no matter what the situation was. So I am so proud for you, Jason, as the head of the department, but for Ms. Kim Berry, for her, she is the lab technician, the head of the lab department, and I just can't imagine what it took to get that job accomplished. So Kim, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, without her professionalism, her dedication not only to ensuring that our CLIA standards are met, but that our clients receive not only, of course, great service, but very friendly and efficient service when they come in the lab. So we are very proud of her accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
So,
Well, and unfortunately, in the world of government, we can't give you anything other than a certificate, so sorry about that.
this is your moment, your hard work.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thanks for your hard
Thanks
work.
so much.
We're so proud of this. I
Thank
mean,
you.
we're taking the credit also, you know, so.
Get over here.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks for the hard work of the health department. Okay, we'll move on to the action items. Item number 1.
2023 Child Abuse Prevention Month Proclamation with Jenny Seitz with CAPS.
Good morning, Jenny.
Hello. So for the Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation, whereas we are living in a time when disclosures of sexual abuse and harassment are becoming mainstream, child sexual abuse still lives in secrecy and shame. And whereas children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Saline County families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment, providing the opportunity for children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds, and consequently building the foundations of communities. And whereas by providing safe, stable, and nurturing relationships for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Saline County's children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. And whereas there were 984 cases of child abuse and neglect investigated by the Department of Children and Families in Saline County in 2022. And whereas Child Advocacy and Parenting Services, also known as CAPS, provides both prevention and intervention programs designed to reduce risk factors associated with child abuse and neglect, while focusing on educating parents and empowering children. And whereas CAPS conducted forensic interviews for 133 child victims of abuse or neglect and or witnesses to a violent crime in 2022. Of those, 35 sexual assault nurse examinations were provided. Those victims also received professional advocacy, a medical exam and care by trained sexual assault nurse examiner on the sexual assault response team, a referral to trauma-focused mental health services, and follow-up supports. These services are delivered through a multidisciplinary collaboration between City of Salina and Saline County Law Enforcement, CAPS, Salina Regional Health Center, Department of Children and Families Child Protective Custody, Saline County Attorney's Office, Central Kansas Mental Health Center, and private therapists trained to use trauma-focused practices. And whereas CAPS began as a child abuse prevention coalition in 1978, the agency has a vision of a place where every child is safe, healthy, and strong. CAPS hopes to shine a light on abuse to create awareness and increase support through the following public events: Go Blue Salina Denim Days. Businesses encouraging employees to wear blue jeans and or royal blue can collect funds for CAPS and spread awareness by taking photos of employees showing their blue support. Each participant will get a sticker to wear showing they believe every child should be safe and loved. Shine a light for survivors. Citizens are encouraged to turn their porches, lamps, or a room in their home blue during the month of April to light the way for child sexual abuse victims and help them shine. Blue light bulbs are also available for purchase at CAPS. Pinwheels for Prevention Challenge, a roaming pinwheel garden that is spread via donations from individuals who wish to plant the garden in their yard to show they believe in creating spaces where every child is safe, healthy, and strong. Pinwheel planters are available for businesses to rent for their lobbies or windows, and information about the gardens and planters can be found at capsofsalina.org. Lastly, National Crime Victims' Rights Week will be commemorated April 23rd through 29th. This year's theme is Survivor Voices: Elevate, Engage, Affect Change. It calls upon communities to amplify the voices of survivors and create environments where survivors have the confidence that they will be heard, believed, and supported.
All right, activities. planned this week or month or whatever?
So we have the Go Blue Salina, so the denim days. We also have Shine a Light, so we have blue light bulbs that are available for purchase at CAPS. This week we are celebrating National Crime Victims' Rights Weeks. So some of the people that help to support us and to advocate for the youth that we serve, such as BACA and our MDT partners, we're getting together this week to kind of celebrate them. And then we have our pinwheels for prevention. Right now, if you're driving around, and I don't know how many people go out by there, but out at Schwann's, they currently have the pinwheel garden. And then we'll be moving that this Thursday to Central National over on Ohio. So the roaming pinwheels.
Well, of all the things that citizens and government support and try to prevent, child abuse to me would be right at the top of the list. So it's very important. Thank you for your hard work in doing this, and we certainly appreciate it. I do not have I can't lay my fingers on it right here with all the paperwork, the signed proclamation, but we'll get that to you. So any other comments from commissioners anywhere?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that to know that there's 984 cases last year, that's almost 3 a day of our youth, and it really saddens me, and I encourage your group, CAPS, to continue the hard work and to see that number reduced.
That's our goal, is to work ourselves out of a job. So, yeah.
Well, I would love to see you reach your goal, that's for sure, certain.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Jenny.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Chairman, I do move we proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Thank you for the reminder. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll move to item number 2.
Paul Cary training contract with Michelle Callum, Community Corrections Director.
Morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have a couple of items on your agenda this morning. The first one is Paul Cary training that we have coming to us in December. I have been before you in the past to talk to you about some training that I have been organizing that we're doing to allow ourselves and other area agencies, the Sheriff's Office, Police Department, things like that, to participate in a training. So today, Paul Cary training is a contract that we just got put together and approved by Mr. Montoya. And it is a training that will give us some information on toxicology. We run a lot of urinalysis testing at our office, so this training will be focused on toxicology. We are doing it in December because we're putting together a mini drug court conference. So we have an all-day training with Tall Cop, Officer Galloway, and then this will be the day before for a half a day that we'll do this toxicology training. So the alternatives for action are that you approve by signature the contract with Paul Cary or that you deny the request. Staff recommendation is that you approve by signature the contract. The cost of the training is covered by our funds, which are budgeted for community corrections training, and registration fees from other agencies. So every other outside agency that's participating is also helping share the cost of this.
Questions from commissioners? Comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-80 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-80 Paul Cary training contract. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Item number 3.
Fiscal year 24-25 Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board grant application, signatory approval, and memorandum of agreements with Michelle Callum, Community Corrections Director.
All right, Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you. You approved in your consent agenda this morning all of our other grant applications. We did this one a little bit differently because this year it is on a two-year grant cycle, but also because we added another service provider. And you will see that there's an MOA with Surge as well as with CAPS. So our request for action this morning is that you approve our Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board grant application, which we in our office called JCAB. And there are 2 MOAs that are also with this. This is also, just as a reminder, it's a 2-year grant cycle, so it's a little bit larger fund than amount than what we would usually get. And then part of that budget is also going to go to SURGE, which is Saline Initiative Restorative Justice. Yeah, sorry, I've had a crazy morning, so I'm a little bit discombobulated, so I apologize. Alternatives for action are that you approve the FY24-25 JCAB grant application and MOAs, or that you deny the request. Staff recommendation would be that you approve our grant application and MOAs to allow that our programs are offered into the community. The budget impact, if approved, those funds will come from KDOC like our other funds do in our agency, and will support programming at community corrections, also at CAPS and at SURGE.
Comments or questions from commissioners? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-82 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-82. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, we'll move to item number 4.
Aggregate purchase with Darren Fischel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Morning, Darren.
Commissioners.
Morning.
This request for action is to authorize the purchase of crushed concrete from Lonnie Wilson for $15 a ton. Total expenditure not to exceed $75,000. Alternatives would be to approve the purchase of the aggregate and 2, deny the purchase of the aggregates. Staff recommends approval of the material purchase. The material is located on State Street west of the railroad tracks. The material would be used to put a material edge wedge on portions of State Street, Halstead Road, and Headville Road, should there be enough material. Purchasing the material at $15 a ton is a considerable savings. We are currently paying $24.50 a ton for AB3 to be hauled to our yard, and we would have less fuel expense and truck cycle times. The purchase would come from the SS8 line item, which has a unencumbered balance of $170,074.57.
Darren, this material is no doubt recycled from highway projects from the state, I assume?
I don't know where the material, all of it comes from. Lonnie Wilson hauls it into his yard over there. I'm not sure where he gets it, and then he hires a crusher to come in and crush it.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I just have a question here, is that for years that you've talked about not using crushed concrete because there's no binding material in there to keep it together. And I would think there that putting this on the shoulder, where if your car did veer off the road and hit that it's not going to be, you can put it out there. And I, been told by your department that there's no binding material in there. So why would we start using it now to put on there just because it's cheaper?
One is the expense. It does work for a shouldering material. One of the reasons we do not put it on gravel roads is because even though they try, they cannot remove all of the steel from the material, so you end up with flat tires. But if you were to put it on a road, it has worked for edge wedge material if you water it and compact it, because there's not really any traffic on it. Do you understand?
Yeah. Oh, I see. But I'm just saying
it does work for an edge wedge.
But when we put edge wedge out there, do we really go out and water it and compact? I mean,
we do compact it. Yeah, we typically don't water it. Yeah. But if it doesn't have sufficient moisture in it, we probably would.
Okay.
Darren, will this impact the AB3 that we approved earlier in the year for purchase? I mean, will you be buying less of that product because this became available?
Yes. This would come out of the same line item. So the AB3 that we have currently have in the yard is sufficient for our needs now.
Anyone else?
Well, I just want to ask, if we have enough AB3 now that we've purchased already through the contract deal, is that, so we should already have enough to do what you're doing here? Because have you already purchased all the AB3 that you had a contract for?
No.
Okay.
No, we have not. The AB3 is a material that we use to repair roads, and we have, barring a flood, okay, knock on wood, we currently have enough AB3 in the yard, I think, to suit our needs. Typically, these 3 line items are interchangeable, so if we were to run out of our SS5 material money, we would start pulling money from the AB3 line item.
Just to make a point, Darren, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we purchased quite a bit of this and put down for edge wedge on the roads, and I haven't heard of any issues with it. Has it been holding up?
It has, but it's time to do it again. It does, edge wedge does wear out because it does get some traffic, and this is just the second lift of that.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-74 as presented.
Second that motion.
Been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-74 aggregate purchase. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
We'll move to item number 5.
RFA 2023-75, Harshman Aggregates, Darren Fishel, Road and Bridge Administrator.
Try again. This request for action is to allow Road and Bridge to purchase SS5 aggregates from Harshman Construction in Florence, Kansas for $11 per ton, with Jesse Knight Trucking hauling the material for $15 a ton. This would make the delivered price $26 per ton. We would like to purchase 5,000 tons with an option for another 5,000 tons. The total cost of this request is $130,000 with an option to purchase another $130,000 depending upon the availability of materials. There is also availability to purchase an SS3 product that is of a smaller gradation. We would like to purchase some of this also at the same price. The quantities would remain the same. We would simply order the product that best suits our needs. The alternatives for action would be accept the recommendation for the aggregates as presented, 2, deny the request and direct staff to an alternate solution. Staff recommends awarding the purchase of 5,000 tons of SS5 from Harshman Construction. Ham Quarries was sent a notice of price of acceptance for the 2023 aggregates on November 29, 2022. They have failed to produce any material that meets the specified gradation as set out in the bid proposal. They also cannot give us a date for delivery. Their bid was $25.95 delivered to the Saline County Yard. We have been in contact with Harshman's and Knight Trucking, and they have agreed to honor the price set out in their bid November 2022, which is 5 cents per ton more, and have the material for delivery. The budget impact is the purchase would come from the road gravel SS5, and the contractual haul line items. And the SS5 has an unencumbered balance of $295,230.83, and the contractual haul line item has an unencumbered balance of $196,645.91.
Darren, I'm going to sing the same song that I've done for several years now. This troubles me that we really don't have a contract. We have a bid acceptance, but we don't have any guarantee that they're going to give us the material. We don't have any guarantee they're going to produce it. I wish we would. I've been in contact with our attorney, and he says that we can put this into a contract to hold their feet to the fire. If they're going to take our bid, we need to have some sort of guarantee that they're going to produce some material. or we go somewhere else. I don't know, but it troubles me that they can take our bid, but they don't have to guarantee they're going to give it to us.
I know Justin is working on a contract for next year's bid lettings. But for this year, our hands are kind of tied that way. He's been working on it. I can tell you, with a contract price will come an increase.
I understand that, that there may be a difference in the price, but somewhere or another, we need to, what was it, last year or the year before, when we didn't get any material because the trucker decided he didn't want to truck it anymore for that price. And we had nowhere to go but just pay a different price. So why do we accept the bid? I'm troubled by it. I wish that your department would get in contact with our county attorney and work something out that's going to be feasible. I mean, I'm sitting here saying this should be a lot easier. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I certainly don't like they're accepting our bid, but they don't have to give us the stuff. I don't understand it.
What would be the answer, you think? I mean,
Well, according to the county attorney, the answer is that you put something into the contract that makes them accountable to produce it. If they accept our terms, then if they don't produce it, maybe it's a monetary thing. Maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an attorney.
Right.
But
when you're talking next year, there's a contract that Justin's working on. I mean, you talking about 2024?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this being only just basically May, we probably could get one done, couldn't we?
I would think, but I mean, if we don't get the departments to come together to work on it.
I know for this year.
I've been talking about this for about 3 years at least.
Right.
For this year, Night Trucking and Harshman Aggregates, they've agreed to meet our needs for this year at that price. But I wanted to start with the 5,000 ton because we did have somewhat of an agreement with Harshman or with Ham's quarry. But they said if the commission wished, they would supply all of our aggregates.
And Darren, I'm not trying to attack you, but they've said, but it's right here, they've failed to produce it. There's no guarantee that they're going to produce it.
No.
They just said they will.
We did haul some material from them, but it did not meet the gradation specifications.
Well, that brings a question, Darren, that I want to ask. A quick understanding of SS5 and SS3. What is that product? How hard is it? And what size is it?
I have that information.
I thought you might.
Let me find it. The SS3 material, it does not have any aggregate retained on the 1.5-inch sieve, which is passing an inch sieve. The SS5 has 2% retained, and then on the 1-inch sieve, the SS3 has 15% retained, and the SS5 has 23% retained. So you're getting a smaller overall aggregate size. But when you get down here to the number 4 sieve, both are 79% retained on the number 4. So 80% of the material is above the size of that sieve. And so you're getting a larger quantity of what I call in the 3/4 to 1/2 inch range. And with the SS5, you're getting a larger quantity on the 1/2 to 3/4 inch sieve. The hardness really kind of depends. The two quarries are comparable, depending upon what ledge they are crushing out of. So it depends, kind of, I'm not going to say day to day, but maybe month to month from the quarry. But geologically, the two quarries are compatible, depending upon the results of their tester.
Thank you.
Quick question here, Darren, is that since the HAM has failed to produce material as specified, are we going to reduce their contract that we have with them to buy this here?
Yes, sir.
By this amount?
We only have so much budgeted for aggregates, so yes, it is going to cut into what Hams receives from us this year.
Thank you. That was my main concern here, that we're looking at. I didn't know if this was all additional to what we've already, but this will come out of what we've already.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Darren, you said just before this on RFA 2023-74 that you had enough of SS3. If we have enough of SS3, why are we wanting to purchase more of the SS3?
I may have misspoken, but I meant AB3. AB3 and SS3 are two different types.
And maybe I misheard too. Okay, thank you.
One of the reasons the SS3 is I'd like to try some in some different areas where, you know, the road isn't quite torn up to where you need the SS5 material, and if the sand isn't enough, you know, so where you're just cutting a small track through a sand road, I think the SS3 would suffice instead of having to go lay the large aggregates on a road.
To get back to the contract, I've taken a back seat to the commissioner's concern over the last couple of years, but I'm with him on this one, and I think we need a contract as soon as possible. So.
And my suggestion there is that your department get in contact with Mike Montoya and see what, and I'm not saying that, you know, there's a $100,000 penalty because they didn't produce the sand. They're not going to sign that. I mean, it's got to be a reasonable contract, but it's got to be reasonable for both parties. And I think the tail's wagging the dog here. You know, we're willing to spend the money, but they might do it and they might not. The local car dealer says, I'll sell you a new pickup for $25,000, but, oh, by the way, I probably won't deliver it. You know, it troubles me. I don't know that there's an answer, but the contract is a thing for me. So, any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the Commission for action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-25 or 75 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-75 for Harshman Aggregates. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Nay. Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. We'll move to item number 6.
RFA 2023-83, purchase of vehicles for environmental health with Hannah Bett, Deputy County Administrator.
Good morning, Hannah, and perhaps I shouldn't have used a new vehicle purchase as lead-in for you, so.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but good morning, Commissioners. This request for action is for the Planning and Zoning Environmental Health Department. This department employs 2 environmental health sanitarians that provide services for a total of 4 counties: Ellsworth, Lincoln, Ottawa, and Saline. The purchase of 2 vehicles was pre-approved in the 2023 County and Equipment Improvement Plan, and bids were opened on Monday, April 17th, and only 1 bid was received from Long MacArthur for $39,938.69 per vehicle for a 2023 all-wheel drive Ford Explorer for a total cost of $79,877.38. Your alternatives for actions are to purchase the vehicles per the received bid, or reject the bid and provide staff with further instructions. Staff recommendation is to award the bid to Long MacArthur for the 2 2023 Ford Explorers. Budget impact, $70,000 was pre-approved in county EIP for the 2 vehicles. The remaining $9,877.38 would still come from county EIP, but from equipment purchases that have come in under budget, as well as purchases that are no longer planned. For example, we had some various lab equipment for planning and zoning in the EIP that has already been purchased, with just a little over $1,000 remaining. And then to include the sheriff's office, they had intended to purchase 6 vehicles in 2023. I had contacted with Captain Hughes and the sheriff, and they advised that they will not be purchasing that 6th vehicle. So there's a little less than $50,000 that would remain in CIP available to make these purchases happen. And subject to any questions, that is a request that is before you.
Hannah, how many many bids did we send out? How many dealers did we contact?
So there's 7 on our local plan holders list,
Okay.
and then we also utilize a Demand Star, which can reach out to other vendors across the United States.
Well, I'll just say that I think this is a right step in the right direction to try to nail down the actual costs of a department, rather than paying mileage. It could go varying all over the place. Maybe we'd save a little, maybe we cost a lot, I don't know. But I do like the fact that we're going to provide the vehicles. I assume that they would be properly marked with Saline County markings and that type of thing, like we do at the Road and Bridge or the Senior Services or any other department.
Yes.
So I think it's a step in the right direction. So, other questions, comments?
And to follow up on that, Hannah, right now, they have a per diem that they're working off of, and now we're going to put them in a county-owned vehicle.
Correct. Right now, we pay them vehicle mileage. Just to kind of put it into some context, the budget for planning and zoning for vehicle mileage is about $16,000 in that line item. Equates to, between the two of them, about 25,000 miles a year, roughly, kind of depending on gas prices and whatnot. So they travel quite a bit.
To project that out, then, are you looking at about a five-year payback on this? A vehicle needs to stay on the road about 5 years to...
Actually, a little bit longer than that. I projected about 8 years for, well, 16,000. Yeah, probably a payback of about 5 years between all of it. But I intend for these vehicles lasting anywhere from 8 to 10 years.
So you're going to have those out there for 200,000 miles plus?
Potentially, just kind of depends.
Okay.
That's roughly about what the sheriff's office does. So, and the sheriff's office vehicles are obviously a little bit more wear and tear on them than what these would be.
Where would these vehicles be kept?
At the Juvenile Detention Center. So these would not be take-home vehicles by any means.
Right. Okay.
I just got a real quick one. You said that these will also be used for Ellsworth, and so this is a shared service.
Correct.
Is there any shared cost?
So right now we do have contracts with each of the 3 counties. They provide, depending on the county, I believe the contract that we have with Lincoln County, they provide Saline County $13,500 each year for these services. That is a discussion that we need to have with each of the 3 counties, not only just the fact that we have spent the last couple of years upgrading their lab equipment, but now the vehicle equipment, and of course, payroll and benefits and whatnot. There's definitely a discussion that needs to be had with those other counties.
I think we need to have that discussion. Thank you.
That brings me to another comment. Rather than have a flat fee, $13,000 per county that we're servicing, perhaps we could set a fee per service rendered and do it that way. It might save them some money, might save us some money.
So currently, anytime our sanitarians provide, such as like a real estate inspection or a water test in another county, the revenue from that comes back to Saline County. It does not stay like in Ellsworth or whatnot. So the contract that we have with those other counties is just to be able to have those environmental health sanitarians to provide those services.
But you said a second ago that there was a flat fee for our services.
Correct. Well, a flat fee for us to provide those services to that county. But any of the revenues...
And then on top of that, we charge them for the service rendered?
Correct. It's usually a homeowner that is charged for those services rendered.
Further comments, questions?
Just to follow up on what the chair said earlier about contracts, and we have in the past had vehicles that have been bids awarded, and they've come back and said, sorry, no thank you, we won't be able to do that. So it has happened on that side of the fence before.
It has. I've had conversations with the representative at Long MacArthur, actually as recently as yesterday. He's very certain that he can still get the vehicles, to give us a lead time about 3 to 4 months.
Thank you.
And I have had conversations with the 2 or 3 or 4 of the automobile dealers here in town that if they don't feel like they can deliver it, they're, just like they did on the Road and Bridge Department here a few weeks ago, they say, no, we can't do it. I'm confident that in this case, Long MacArthur, I believe it is, that they will produce the vehicles. They will come across, so. All right, is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the Commission for Action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-83 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-83 for the purchase of vehicles for the Environmental Health Department. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, this is just a warm-up, I think. We're going to get started now. Item number 7.
RFA 2023-78, County Facilities with Philip Smith-Haynes, County Administrator.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. So, Saline County has been working for the last several years on a few different major facility upgrades, including building a new sheriff's office and jail and making significant upgrades to our law enforcement communication system, as well as at the Livestock and Expo Center. That sort of kicked off a larger discussion around facilities in general, what we are going to do with the current jail facility when the staff moves to the new facility. And so as a consequence of that, we contracted for a facility master plan in 2022, which was delivered at the beginning of this year, and your commission met in study session in February to talk about a wide array of different things. And so the upshot of that meeting was that I promised to come back to you in April and start working on the specifics of how we move forward on this. And this is the last meeting in April, so here I am. So I tried to just bite this off into digestible chunks. So there are only 4 items that I've brought in front of the Commission today, and these are the 4 items that I feel like we really need some decisions on as we move into the budget process, and just for timeliness reasons. So those 4 items are, number 1, the potential for turning the county farm into a solar farm. Number 2, the potential for selling the health department building, the current building. Number 3, the potential for partnering with the city of Salina on development of the downtown facilities, including Memorial Hall, the jail, etc. And then number 4, the potential for working with partner counties in north central Kansas to develop a juvenile center here in Salina, probably using part of the existing jail. So if we wanted to move forward with those 4 items for further development in terms of the potential of converting the county farm into a solar farm, I think the next step would really be to have staff prepare a report detailing our existing farm leases, when they expire, what the potential is, any amendments to zoning codes that would be required, and then what process we would propose to solicit bids from potential solar developers. So I think that's sort of a path forward on that one. On the sale of the health department, if the commission wanted to move forward with that, you would ask staff to return with a draft notice of sale for your consideration, including conditions around lease back of that building upon sale until we're ready to actually vacate the site. That is necessary because of the way state law reads with respect to county disposition of property in excess of $50,000. For joint projects with the city of Salina, Deputy Administrator and I did have a conversation with the city manager and the deputy city manager, and then the city commission had their strategic plan recently, and the city manager did provide feedback that the city commission is open to acquiring some part of the sheriff's office for expansion of Salina PD, and they are also open to the possibility of doing a joint study, the city and the county doing a joint study on downtown facilities. So if you wish to move forward on that, you could task staff to include within the 2024 budget funding for such a joint study and negotiate a temporary lease on the sheriff's space effective January 1 of 2024. And then in terms of conversion of the jail space for juvenile use, I did travel to Junction City and meet with Sean Brandmall from North Central Juvenile Justice, and he happens to be here today as well. They have a desire, I guess you would say, to open a facility in Saline County. The way their funding works, they would need to have the majority of the beds as what are called secure care beds, which are for what I'm going to call children in need of care, not necessarily children who are involved with the juvenile justice system. Those are the detention beds. They make money essentially on the secure care beds, which they could then use to fund the cost of renovations, because the juvenile beds are the responsibility of the counties in their service areas. So in order to move that project forward, their group would need to retain an architect to look at our jail facility and go through it and make some recommendations about costs, etc. Figure out if they could actually afford this plan. But they have requested that we would consider, the commission would consider paying half of the cost of that architectural service, just because they don't really have that money sitting there for that purpose. So if you wish to move forward on that, you would task staff to identify funding and come back to you with that funding identified, as well as an agreement with North Central Juvenile Detention to share those costs. So those are the four paths forward that I see. Staff's recommendation is not to pursue one of those paths. So I think it's reasonable to move forward with the partnership with the city, certainly as regards the sheriff's office space, also potentially a study. I think it's also reasonable to enter into some deeper conversations with the North Central Juvenile Detention folks, see where we can get with them, what those costs would look like. It may also be reasonable to pursue the solar development a little bit further, at least to the point of having a study and knowing some of those parameters, what's possible. I would recommend against moving forward with sale of the health department at this time. I think that's really premature based on where we are right now. I'm not saying we shouldn't ever sell it, but if we are looking, for example, at a joint study with the city, I think selling that building forecloses one potential possibility, right? There may be something that would come out of a study where the city would have a use for that, or we would have a completely different use parking lot, whatever it might look like. So, so I would recommend against pursuing sale of the health department right now, but I think it is reasonable to move forward with those other three. And then I also mentioned in the report, this does not stop the discussion on a number of other items. There are still several other things that the commission mentioned as part of your study session back in February that we will continue to pursue. But these are the 4 items that I felt were the most timely to get a decision and decide whether we want to move forward. So with that, I will answer any questions, and then I know folks from Juvenile Detention are here as well. They might have some comments as well.
First, Phil, let me say thank you. From the 4 of us on this end of the table we're in our 7th year of being together. And our goal has always been to try to look further down the road of what we're getting that accomplished. And I'm going to give you a great deal of the credit to help pull us in that direction and guide us in that direction. And this is a perfect example of what we need to see and react to one way or another. And so thank you very much for that. Next, I would like to say to the commissioners, in trying to save time and not just jump all over the board, I'm going to call on each one of you individually, and keep in mind that we need to think about the alternatives for action, the 3 alternatives for action. And I'm going to start on my left with Commissioner Hay, and you can ask Phil any questions you wish or make any comments you wish, and I'm going to keep track of where our consensus may head us, and we'll go from there, and we'll see where this takes us. So, okay. Commissioner Hay?
Thank you. I discussed a little bit with Phil yesterday. I've read through the task that he had put on there, and actually all I've got to add is I agree with what Phil had said earlier about pursuing the 3 options and then taking the one off the table right now for the health department, and not pursuing selling the health department. I am very interested in working with the city of Salina with, there's so much stuff out there, Memorial Hall and different things like that we can look at. So I agree with what Phil put forward.
Commissioner Roger Sparks.
One of the things I want to relate to here is, first off, on the solar development, have we looked into the legalities of this? I mean, even going for what Oliver Hagg's wishes were, does this fit into those criteria pretty much to fulfill his wishes?
So I will say I've had some very surface conversations with County Councilor, and a few things about that. One is that the language in the will where Mr. Hagg bequeathed the property to the county, those are his wishes, and the commission is not bound by that. I will also say, however, his wishes related to conservation. And so, I think you could make an argument that solar power is a conservation activity. It's also not. It's also not a foregone conclusion that we would go that way, right? If we just study it and determine, I think that there might need to be some changes to the zoning in order for that to move forward. So I would say partially is the answer to your question. I've had some very partial conversations, but I think there's more research to be done in terms of legality.
Okay. And working with the city going forward with a lot of buildings that the city owns or projected of being empty or moving and consolidating. I like all of that there. one of the things coming back to the jail space juvenile use task force, I know some of the laws and regulations have changed in the last few years of going why it's projected that we won't need the bed spaces, then we do need the bed spaces. I would hope to think that someday down the road that we eliminate all of this and we don't need the jail spaces for the juvenile, but there's a lot of issues, I think, turning that jail and the expenses, but I think love to see the direction of what could be used for, and I think going with hiring an architect, I think is the right way here. But yeah, holding back on the health department and moving forward to other things I'm in favor of pretty much what you've lined forward here. It's a good deal. Okay.
Mr. Weiss?
Well, first of all, in reading this over, I want to keep an open mind to all the things that are on the table. I think information is what's needed, and I applaud your presentation today, and I agree that with administration that holding off on the health department might be the right road. You want to have all your chips in front of you when you come to the game. Got a couple questions. The square footage that's now being utilized by the health department, do you know the square footage of that building?
Oh gosh, it was in the master plan. I want to say it's between 17 and 19,000 right now, and the projected is like 22,000 is what they need. So it's not crazy numbers, but it is slightly bigger than the facility they have now.
I appreciate that. And again, I would appreciate more information, study sessions on these items. And then we can make our decisions from that.
Commissioner Modish Adwick.
Big picture, I want you to think about staff time and what you can handle. The jail's not done yet, and I know that that's been very, a lot of time that your staff has been spent on that. All three of these are outside the norm of what you're doing day to day. So I mean, even if we just did one of these, added it to you, with what you've got going on, I'm nervous about that. I trust that you can decide what you can do. I trust your decision making, but looking outside, I'm looking, dang, all three of those look pretty time consuming. So I just want you to think about that.
I'll just say I appreciate that, Commissioner. I do, and I am keeping that in mind. One of the things that the Commission approved a couple weeks ago was this idea of temporary staff augmentations and that contract service. And so we're obviously still in the process of going through the RFQ on that and getting responses and bringing a contract. But I do see that as a potential relief valve for some of this, because you're correct. I do have 40 hours of work as it is.
As it is, so you're doing that. And I remember when we went through our brainstorming session, and I'm not so sure it was ever mentioned, but in the back of my mind, I was always thinking this is a 5, 7, 9, 10-year project. I mean, we were looking big picture. We were looking even past this commission. So, as you're taking our direction, and I appreciate that, but I don't want you to think our direction was to get this done this year right away. So, getting back to each one of them, the leasing of the county farm for solar development, that's just, Commissioner Weiss made a great point. We just need information on that. By going forward, I'm not saying that I'm going to say yes. Just I don't have the information to say yes or no on that, so very good. Obviously, working with the city of Salina, it's the same taxpayer for most purposes, so that's a no-brainer. I'm interested how far we've come since we started, commissioners, 7 years ago. Now we're looking forward to projects with the city, so that's neat. I'd throw something out. Again, the same taxpayer, but You know, do you include the school board on that too? School board owns a lot of property. The one I've always thought about is the old high school that's still there next to the park that's been sitting empty for 65 years. You know, again, it's the same taxpayer, and you know, maybe include them, maybe not. Just throwing that out as a suggestion. The converting a portion of the jail is obviously important to the public, I think. I mean, what's the answer? I have no clue. But going forward on that in incremental phases, that's great. Sharing the architect would be fine, you know, as long as if it didn't work out, we would have access to those plans if we paid for half of those and going forward. So, yeah, and I've always thought about, you know, the health department needs a new building. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But again, that might be a 5-7 year thing. So taking that off of your plate right now makes sense. With that, that's enough.
I enjoy, to a degree, hearing from each one of you, because it has already altered some of my thinking and what I was going to say. And to the positive side for you guys. Monty and Jim, I mean, your thoughts are right where I was headed. I mean, number one on the solar farm, and Phil, you're asking us for permission or guidance to go forward. I'm asking you not to go forward with the solar farm until we hear from the solar farm people and the people that want to put it in there. When we hear what their plan is or what they might want to determine, then we can open up for a public meeting. We're sure going to hear from the landowners out in that area. I don't want to send you chasing what all we're going to do. As Monty said, your time is valuable. I don't want to send you in that direction without hearing from those people in the first place. We may say 5-0. We don't want anything to do with that, and we've wasted your time. So I would like to put that on the back burner until we can get those people in front of us and hear from them. Selling the health department, no-brainer. We don't have a place to go. Why would we sell the building and then rent it back? That doesn't make sense to me. Health department, we need a new health department. We're going to have a new health department. And that's going to get right on the front burner as far as I'm concerned. The city of Saline interest in county properties, you know, I wasn't as warm to that as what I've heard from some of you, and that gets me back to thinking, oh, okay, that's not such a bad idea. The budget impact portion of it bothers me. I'm don't want to step on the toes of our architectural friends from here to there, but I'm not for spending $30,000 to $50,000 for architectural plans on something that we don't even know if we're going to do. I would like to try to figure out a plan and then spend the money. Maybe that's the wrong direction to go, but that's where I'm thinking. So for me to say I want you to pursue all three of these options, I don't want to do that at this time. I'm going to, just like Commissioner Weiss has said and Commissioner Shadwick, I want to hear some more about a couple of these things before I spend money and spend your time and valuable time, and you're a busy person. So what do you want to know now? I mean, I don't hear a total consensus that we go forward with all three of those options yet.
I'm a little confused on what a request for action is going to mandate you to do. The action I would like is information, a study on it, and not saying this is, I mean, I'm a little confused on what the action is going to.
Well, on the solar farm portion of it, to me, I don't want to have Phil doing the legwork for the act. I want those people to come forward in open session and tell us what their plans are, and we don't hear it secondhand, or, you know, I'm going to hear from them before we.
To me, that is going forward.
Okay, and I agree with you.
See what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying go forward with a solar farm. I'm saying go forward with information and getting information from them.
Well, and what I'm saying is,
I think we're on the same page.
I don't want Phil to go forward getting all the information. Phil can go forward through SCEDO. I think this plan is going through SCEDO, and to have those people come before us like we would anyone else that wants to do something in the county and tell us, and then we'll tell Phil to.
Yeah,
that's my thinking.
It's just confusion over the logistics of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I'm all in favor of taking the health department off the table and letting the rest of them ride, as far as that action is just bringing us information. And I agree, Chair, I don't want to, and Commissioner Shadwick, I don't want to throw a lot of work onto the administrator, but if these can happen in broader increments where we're not putting a bunch of legwork into it, I'm all for it.
And I think that where the study sessions could come in effect. So, we get a lot of those study sessions are out far enough away. I think that's where we're going to get the information information from, if we have some type of a study session giving us a little bit more information in, so we can make a better decision or decide what we want to do, so we can let Phil know what we want to do.
I want to go back to the architectural costs that it's going to have for preliminary plans. And the Juvenile Center, this is from Junction City standpoint, or that organization, there's no guarantee that they're going to go forward with this. Is that correct?
Well, they can probably speak for themselves, but
okay.
Yes,
Well,
I would say there's no guarantee. They need to understand if it's feasible. They need to understand, if the jail can be, the current jail can be reasonably renovated into what they need for, $500,000, $700,000 for a section of it, then yeah, they'll do the numbers and see whether the math works for them. If it's going to cost $12 million to turn the jail into something that's usable for them, then I think they're out.
Okay, is this something that Saline County would continue to own the building then? Or are they going to lease it from us?
Well, I think those are all to be determined features. What that looks like. Saline County owns the Salina Police Department, right? That we have a 99-year lease with the city of Salina.
That part of it I'm aware of.
So, it could be something like that, where it's, they own it for all appearances and are responsible for maintaining it, but we don't give up title to the ground underneath it. It could be that sort of an arrangement. It could be something short of that. I doubt very seriously, and again, they should probably address this, but I doubt that they're going to be in a position to pay us rent. It is legally the county's responsibility to detain juveniles, and we've just chosen over the last 10 plus years to do it in conjunction with neighboring counties to minimize those costs.
I guess where my concern is right now, and maybe I'm off base here with my fellow commissioners, is I'm concerned about spending $25,000, which would be half of the 50, for something that we don't know what we're going to do.
But that hadn't been brought to us yet. That hadn't even been brought to us yet. I think he's wanting broad strokes, like if 4 of us were up here today saying, no, we want to tear it down and make tennis courts out of it, then the conversation's over. I'm just thinking we need to start looking for uses of that building. So I don't think he's asking for $25,000 today.
Well, this page says they are. Page says they are. Right here it says they are.
Boy, that's still come back in an RFA.
Yes, my recommendation is that you direct me to figure out where that money would come from, and I will say, Mr. Chairman, I'm not trying to debate you,
right? And I don't want to do that.
It sort of occurs to me as sort of a chicken and egg type problem, right? Like you said, well, I'd rather we know what we're going to do with it before we spend the money, but you kind of have to spend some money to know what's reasonable to do with it at the same time.
Well, from this conversation that we've had up here between the 5 of us and the questions and the comments, do you feel like you have a direction? That we've given you a direction?
pretty close. I'm still a little confused on a couple items, but maybe if we took public comment and then came back and had a little more discussion, that might.
Well, I mean, to me, there's a couple of them that I go forward with. That's for certain. So perhaps at this point, I'm going to ask for public comment. See if we have any. Step right up and state your. Come to the podium, please, and give us your name and your organization.
Sean Brandmall, Director of the North Central Kansas Regional Juvenile Detention Facility. We're taking a risk also, I guess is my public comment. I understand, and you're much bigger than we are. You could probably better able to afford, I believe it's $40,000, so it'd be about $20,000 a piece. But we're willing to take the risk because we think it's necessary. Currently, we have 12 beds serving 15 counties. And that's as a result of Senate Bill 367. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it changed the entire juvenile system. And we used to have a 28-bed detention center, and now we've got a 12-bed facility because when Senate Bill 367 passed, they took away a large amount of our funding. So we had to find a way to fund the facility if we wanted to maintain detention in the state of Kansas. Now I've been able to put together a electronic monitoring program, which has kept our numbers down, and we've been able to survive on 12 beds. But there's some legislation being proposed. It's probably not going to pass this year, but there's a lot of public concern about a lot of these kids have no business in foster care. They need to be in a secure place. We have a lot of human trafficking, things like that. That's why I want to go with the Secure Care Center. So anyway, I guess we're just going to have to take it step by step. There's risk involved. We're willing to take the risk and put up our $20,000. I just wanted to see if you guys were willing to join us in that risk.
Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but would this be to replace your Junction City facility, or would it be in addition to?
It would be in addition to.
And your funding comes all from the state level?
State and county. County funds detention, state funds secure care.
Okay.
Because we just, remind me, we just took the money that we used to run our own detention center, and we just took that money and gave it to Junction City. Is that correct?
I think it's a pretty good amount.
Yeah, it's 240-ish thousand a year. We write a check quarterly.
I keep in mind it was over $500,000 when you were running yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. You're clearing up my muddy sky a little bit for me. I appreciate that very much. So any other questions from? All right. Thank you.
I have.
Well, just a second.
Not so much for him, but for the administrator. It seems like a couple of our action items here are at odds with each other. Whether to go on and do something with the juvenile center, and then also with the city of Salina's interest in that area. Shouldn't we see what interest they could have, what that would be before we go to the money spent to look into a juvenile?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Weiss. Sorry I did not clarify that earlier. They're not at odds with each other because the city has made it very clear that they are not interested in the 1995 portion of the jail. They're interested in the sheriff's offices and potentially the 1962 portion of the jail just for storage. They do not want to take any responsibility for the newer portion of the jail. That is the portion, and I don't think by any means all of it, but a portion of that would be what the juvenile detention folks would be interested in potentially renovating. So I think what you would have on that site and what we would study the potential for having on that site is an expanded Salina Police Department, a potential juvenile justice facility, and then a player to be named later. Because I think there's still probably a third of the building that wouldn't be needed for either of those uses. And so the question becomes, what else is compatible with those two functions, or do you knock it down and build something else there? So I think But I don't think there's a conflict between the city's interest and juvenile justice interests.
For that. And to get this straight, we put up $20,000 to do this study. If it's feasible, would all the renovation and all that be up on the, I'm sorry, the organization again, North Central?
Yeah, that's of course open to negotiation as well. It depends on what your use for this is, what this facility is for.
Leave that up for negotiation, and let's say we have to put a little money in there to make it work. Then we turn that over to them, $1 a year for 99 years, and then we get no rent, well, the $1, and then we're still paying $240,000 to keep our juveniles in Junction City. I don't see, I mean, I appreciate your work. I don't see what the gain is for the county in doing this.
That's a really fair question. Thank you. So I would say, I think one hope is that fewer of our juveniles would actually go to Junction City. I think if there were detention beds in Salina, we would hope that many of the Saline County kids would end up getting placed here. Now, there's classification issues. You know, sometimes not everybody would be able to be in this facility, and depending on, you know, compatibility of crimes and number of beds occupied and all sorts of things. So, but I think the hope would be to keep more of our kids locally and not have them go to Junction City. So that's one sort of qualitative benefit. The other, I will say, the benefit of having them there is, we believe, and this is what we would, you know, have a study to confirm, but we believe it would be less costly to renovate that facility for their needs than it would to turn it into offices or to do other things with it. And so the county has this structure that has potential, right? And so what is the potential that we want to see out of that building? And this is a use that that, you know, we have been talking about, I think, since we put this in front of the voters to build the new jail. And so, you know, it would not be a financial windfall for the county. Not gonna lie to you, it would not be a financial windfall for the county to have juvenile justice take over part of the jail. Period, full stop. But it would be a use that would potentially get some of our local kids to stay locally and would be compatible with having the police department there and with the existing structure of the building. And so that's the reason for it, not that it's going to make money. If it's the will of the commission to turn that lot into something that is redevelopable, then I think we go a completely different direction and we start talking about turning it into apartments or something else that's completely unrelated to justice facility.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit, in my opinion anyway, that to debate what the juvenile center is going to do and why we would or would not do it. I didn't mean for my $25,000 question to develop into this, but from that standpoint, I'm willing to go along with that. And once we determine, yes, you want to do that, then we're going to negotiate what we feel is a proper rent, or why we would do it, or why we would not. And that, I mean, but first of all, we have to find out if it's feasible,
Right.
which is what we're trying to do here today.
And not to drag this out, but remind me on the survey, the public survey wasn't reusing it for something like this at the top? I mean, not maybe the highest, but it was number one.
It was up there.
So the public has pretty much said,
Well, and again, I
a
think
portion of the public have said that.
Yeah, and I think we have talked about this particular use off and on since 2020. So yeah, I mean, I think there was public sentiment behind this use, and we're being responsive to that. But
Yeah,
there are
this-
certainly other things.
We peel back things. This may be the greatest thing we could possibly imagine, or we could say, man, this isn't going to work. But right now, we're debating $25,000 to spend for architectural fees from our standpoint, or maybe not 25,000, might be less. So, thank you for the clarification, and we'll go from there. Obviously, we have another public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Norman Mantle, Salina. Monty, you remember when we was upstairs in the commissioners meeting, the issue come up, what to do with Oliver Hagg's ground?
I do not. Remind me.
You were talking about leasing it.
Okay.
And that got voted down. It's going to be surface rights versus subsurface rights. There's a lot of room there. So you want to look at that subsurface rights, mineral rights, gas rights, oil rights, separate minerals. We tried to get a commit of a guy that wanted to lease that land, and he wouldn't give us a commitment. So that's coming back to what Robert said. We need a commitment from these people before we do it, before we spend our money. I just paid some more taxes here, and I'm tired of it.
All right. I think that I am ready to come back to the commission and ask for some sort of an approval here. Phil, if with your permission, again, I'll go back. Are we clear as mud here on what we want you to do or not do? I say it's more like what we want you not to do. We don't want to sell the property, okay, the health department. I don't anyway. I want you chasing the solar farm until we hear a presentation from them. And the other two items, I would say that you can spend some time researching that and bring it back to us. Does that meet with?
Yeah, let's get back to your thing. You don't want him to do very much on the solar farm. I think going forward and contacting the people that are interested is going forward.
Well, and I agree with that. And what we haven't really discussed here is this has been brought forward from the Saline Community Economic Development Organization. Is that not correct?
They're two different projects. Skeeto is pursuing a battery storage project.
Yes.
That is on a different parcel of ground that's not county owned. It's adjacent to the county farm, but it is not county owned ground. This would be solar development on the county ground. So they're two different projects.
I see. I'm
And didn't you
not aware of that.
Didn't you have something that you asked us to look at our calendars on May the 12th and see if we could set some time to discuss?
That's regarding the Skeeto project.
Okay.
That's not that's not what we're
That's
discussing.
not what's on this.
Okay.
My error.
I got the two confused too.
So do
Thanks
I.
for that's good clarification, and I
So do I.
apologize. So,
Well, this isn't.
Solar and battery, I mean, to me, they're the same thing, but,
Married, but.
so,
Take action here, and I don't know if I'm smart enough to make the motion, so.
well, that's why I'm kind of asking Phil for a motion almost.
So I think so if the entire commission is in agreement, I think the motion would be to move forward on the three items as suggested by staff, but to deprioritize the solar project.
Well, being as I've been clarified here in the last 2 minutes, I really want to hear more about this solar thing, and if we're going to, I mean, I don't know anything about that. I was totally unaware of that.
We've been approached by somebody, correct? So I would say, Commissioner, if I think we're on the same page, have that person, that group that has contacted us, give us some information of what they want.
Exactly.
And so I'm still okay going forward with it. I'm not saying I'm going to say okay, but I don't think any information that they give us would be fine. I mean, it will be fine, I should say.
The splitting hairs and the forward part is having Phil chase it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Is which,
I don't want him to be the...
No, right.
I think we're clear. And
Well, then I think we're back to just move staff's recommendation, and I'll sort of with the understanding that I won't spend a lot of time on solar.
And I'll make the
Go ahead.
deal. Mr. Chairman, I move we approve RFA 2023-78 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 2023-78 as presented. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion does carry.
This will be interesting going forward.
You haven't got too much else to do anyway, Phil, so
5 to 7 years.
we'll move forward. Our informational items. Item number 1.
Department of Senior Services quarterly update with Rosie Walter, Senior Services Director.
Good morning, Rosie.
Good morning, Commissioners. My quarterly updates through January through March 2023. Accomplishments are, we did our 2022 letter campaign fundraiser. We've raised $68,108.50, which is $33,996.21 over what we raised in 2021. The reason for that is that we expanded our letter campaign. We did some flyers and we sent it out to all, well, not all, a lot of different Saline County residents, so that would be why. Match Madness, we raised $14,037.12, which is $6,950.67 over 2022. The Greater Salina Community Foundation, they did raise in whole a lot more this year, so I'm very pleased with that. Just attended and finished our NACO leadership class. I have graduated. It's a 12-week class. I learned a lot about being a leader, the do's and don'ts of things I have done in the past, so I'm hoping to continue that process. I've met with Hannah, and we will move forward on different classes. I spoke at the National Active Retired Federal Employees on February 27, 2023. We applied for a United Way grant, Making a Difference grant for 2022 for Christmas for homebound seniors, and we received $5,000 for that. We applied for same grant, 2023, another $5,000 to help support the packages that we give our homebound seniors around Christmas time during inclement weather. It helps me to have them have some shelf-stable food, so that's the majority of that. All the current building projects are complete right now, and we've presented this little slide here that Lauren's going to help me with. Okay, next. Grant funding helps support this as well as CIP funds. Next. And the projects that are shown in here are tuck pointing, the windows, and Meals on Wheels drive-through. What? Oh, next. Okay, so shown here is the tuck pointing, and you can see we have a worker out there filling in some huge chips that we had in the boulders out there. And then looking up on the north side, you can see that's where it gets the blunt of the weather. So we filled in and restored the mortar. So our building is now secure, watertight. Next. This is our contractor out here getting everything ready in the lawn to fix up the tuck pointing. So they were there for 3 weeks or so. Next. And here is our building with all the tuck pointing done. Next. Windows. This is an old picture of our building, and you can see the screens and stuff that are on the windows. Next. Here is another picture of our windows where you see that the frames are in need of work and little gaps and such that allowed water and wind to go through the building. Next. And here you can get a nice view of the windows, the new windows that are installed. So no more horrible looking screens on the building, but watertight and secure. Next. This is the Meals on Wheels drive-through. This is prior to. Next. Here's our construction company coming in and roping everything off, getting ready to rip everything out. Here is our beautiful new Meals on Wheels drive-through. Volunteers are now able to drive right up to the doors, pick up their meals, and go deliver. Whereas before, as you know, they parked behind everybody else in the parking lot, causing a lot of commotion. This is the new statue that we worked with the Arts and Humanities Department that we now have out there. It's called Farmer. Very nice. A lot of them said that they modeled for it. Okay, and then next, was there a next one? Oh, okay. On the plans, our advisory council meeting was held April 21st at noon, and we reviewed the stats and statistics. My NACO class graduated. I spoke at the Rural Rental Housing Association of Kansas seminar. It was actually yesterday for about an hour. They had a lot of questions about Meals on Wheels and what we do. The Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. It is this Friday. It's from 6:30 to 8, and I would ask the commissioners and other staff to come and help appreciate all of our volunteers. We will have approximately 200 volunteers present there, so they love seeing the commissioners there as well as other staff. We met with the administrative staff at St. Mary's School to start a pen pal program with our homebound seniors. They are very interested. They have first through third graders that want to start this program. So we're going to send a survey out to our homebound seniors and see if there's any interest in it. So hopefully that there will be. We have our annual health fair May 19th. I know it says 19. We now have 35 vendors signed up for that. So it's getting up there. So I won't go above 42. The theater project will perform Shenanigans at the Blue Pelican Inn on May 5th and 6th, 2023 at the Salvation Army Chapel. This is different. We usually have it at the Senior Center, but the theater group has grown. We have 6 new players that are in this. Tickets are $8 in advance and $10 at the door. Okay, for our new projects that we're getting ready to start, we're receiving quotes on that, and then as soon as everything is received, we will start that grant writing process. That will entail the parking lot, redoing our outbuilding, and then a security system for the senior center with cameras. Going on to the budget update, January through March, you can see that we were funded $796,972 from the county. Our current expenses are $192,843.74. The revenue that we brought in is $110,171.32. The donations for this period, we have brought in, well, we have our carryover, but we've brought in $178,382.35 in the last 3 months due to a large donor of $150,000 that helped out. We've expended $24,993.69, leaving a balance of $232,399. And then listed are our grants, the awards, and the balances for each one of those. And then meals served. So for this 3 months, we have served 28,412 meals. At this same time last year, this is almost 3,000 more for this 3-month period. So we are serving a lot of food out of the senior center.
Okay, Rosie, I have a question regarding on your donations. $232,000, nearly $250,000. Do we have that invested? Is it liquid, or is it designated for particular projects, or where's that money at?
That money is in our accounts over at the treasurer's office.
Meaning that it's not drawing any interest or anything?
It is not right now. We have other funds that are in that, but these funds help support Meals on Wheels, and the biggest bulk of it is in Meals on Wheels. As you know, the food costs have gone up extreme. We were about $168,000 over budget, and I had to use donor dollars to help cover those expenses. I fully expect the same thing to happen this year.
We're $468,000 over budget?
Well, just in the food costs because of.
Where's that at in this?
That was last year, so it wouldn't be on this one.
How much total food cost do you have if 480 was over?
How much food cost was in it? It was right at $560,000 in that area.
You didn't say 480, you said 160.
Over what we were allowed.
It was 480
So
though.
the total cost was around 560 or so. I'd have to go back and look to make sure. I know that's not adding up, is it?
Okay.
Enlighten me, Rosie, as far as county dollars spent on the senior center, am I right in saying that you are operating it with less county dollars today than what we were before, county dollars before the new senior county department services started?
I would say that we have saved the county quite a bit of money. I think last year we figured we saved the county $42,000. The county funded back in 2017 $328,000. But with all the revenue that we do bring in, we actually did save the county money, about $42,000.
Yep.
When I see the number at the top, the 2023 budget is $796,000, $797,000. That seems like an exorbitant amount. I don't remember it being nearly that high before. Or where am I missing?
I think it's the way that it's set up with the budget. That shows total expenses, but it doesn't show the revenue that's going to be made, correct me if I'm wrong, through the Meals on Wheels program or
Right.
or all of that.
So if you consider how much revenue we bring in, I think Phil had us guesstimate at $400,000. That revenue, we actually exceeded that for 2022.
Well, if I see a budget expense of $797,000, to me, that's what we're going to spend is $797,000.
And we did. Budgets consist of expenditures and revenues. So that you're attempting to compare a expenditure number and a net number, and those are this is always confusing with senior center every time because The senior center was set up as a general fund department before I got here, and so the commission is always interested, to Commissioner Weiss's point, in the net number you're spending, because you used to just write a check to the Commission on Aging. Well, you no longer write a check to the Commission on Aging. You have payroll, you have, you know, all the expenses of any county department. That's $800,000 a year, but they pull in $400,000 a year, over 400. That we estimate 400, and she's already at 110 in the first quarter, so she's going to be probably 440, 450 this year. So the net is the proper comparison when you think about whether you're spending more or less than you used to. But their budget is $796,000. That's how much we actually write checks for every year, because that's the total amount to keep them.
So we're actually losing about $400,000. It's costing us about $400,000.
A little under that.
A little under, yeah.
Closer to 350 or so.
Are you recommending by chance that we redefine how we budget this?
I
mean, we always end up in the same place.
Yeah, we've had this conversation several times. I mean, it's not. I suppose we could separate it out like we do road and bridge. There's a lot of complications with that too. So I'm not necessarily recommending going there for.
Well, it doesn't do any good to put this budget update in front of me because I can't understand it, because you're not. So anyway, I'll be quiet then.
Well, this is just a government service that doesn't cash flow. I mean, the taxpayers subsidize it, and
right.
I mean, and that's fine. I mean, as long as everybody knows that the taxpayers subsidize this, right?
I guess where I get lost is the $796,000. We write that check for $796,000, but we bring in $400,000. So I mean, there's a $400,000.
That's the subsidy. That's what the taxpayers spend to subsidize this service. The difference.
And that comes out of our general fund, then, or out of their.
Yeah.
Rosie, the monies that through Meals on Wheels donations and such, does that filter back into that expense side and offset some of that to make more revenue than it looks like you're losing 300 and some thousand a year, but actually there's some donations monies that come into that.
Yeah, we you know, well, you can see right here, we bring in quite a bit in donations and grants for different things, but you know, back when the county funded, back in the 70s, I mean, the county agreed to spend so much for the older Kansans. So $328,000 is which they agreed to expend towards that. Well, with the county taking over this, we have saved the county. I think last year was $42,000, because we do offset some of the bills with the donations. So because the food costs have gone up, we were able to use those donor dollars to help offset those costs, which is what their purpose is.
You know, on a more positive note, I would like to say, you know, Rosie, you're just not a director of senior services. When you step down in that dining room during lunchtime, the whole place lights up. The people love you. You do a great job. You do, you know, thank you for the grant writing you guys do. That helps a lot in through this process too. Without that, you know, we'd be more than $350,000. But like I said, I would like to thank you for, you know, your service that you give and your staff service. You've got an outstanding staff.
We do.
And I don't think I can find a more friendly staff that is willing to help everybody that walks through that door. And the food, the food is great. So on that part, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anyone else? Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you.
We'll move to item number 2.
First quarter idle bond report with Jim DuBois, County Treasurer.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, Commissioners. Well, I hope to give you a little bit of good news today, hopefully. Point of clarification, I noticed on my agenda that items 2 and 3, 2 said bond report, 3 said idle fund report. I'd like to merge those two together. Usually I start with the fund balance report, and then we move on to the bond part of that. So if you take a look at your sheet for the funds report, really kind of an interesting process, and I'm not getting used to that. We earned in interest as of March 31st of 2023, $780,000, $332.85, compared to $71,884 last year. So we have a difference of $708,448.09. If you look further down where it says interest earned as of December 31st, 2022, last year total, we earned an interest $670,649.64. So if we continue on that process, I think I've told the commission before, I've never seen $1 million, but we're getting pretty close. The Fed just raised the interest, unfortunately, another 25 basis points, which is another 0.25, but it does reflect on the money market that we have in our bank account. And I believe right now we're getting like a 3.6% interest on money market. I overheard you talking with Rosie a little bit about, do you earn interest? Well, all of our accounts accumulated is on the money market side with our account. So we are earning interest off of that. And that money is in the bank account. And with Bennington now, 64% of that is invested within that process. So we're doing pretty well. And then if you look at our bond proceeds of what we had, really don't have a whole lot to compare with from last year because of what we had in there. But for whatever great reason, we've done pretty well. The majority of all those money was in the municipal investment pool with the state of Kansas, mainly because the banks don't want to take a large amount of money. We're going through that fairly quickly now as we approach a conclusion to the jail, in which we've moved a lot of those funds now. All of those funds are in our regular Bennington account, and we earned $402,413.81. So I would say financially, as far as our idle funds, we've done well. So investment-wise, we're seeing, with the CDs that we've had, we're seeing bids come in anywhere from 4.4454 to 5% on interest. I've never seen interest like that before, at least in the 10 years I've been as treasurer. So I sure hope that helps the county a little bit.
Questions? All right, thank you.
More good news.
There you go.
Thanks, Commissioners. Have a great day.
Okay, we'll move to item number 3 then. Or is that a combination of everything was there, Jim?
Yeah, that was
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. Item number 4.
Quarterly budget update with Phillips & Haynes, County Administrator.
Phil?
Well, I love to follow Jim because, as I point out in my quarterly budget update, interest is one of the bright spots. I think we're earning more than we've earned since 2007. So it's been a minute since we've earned that kind of interest income. So that's good news. On the flip side, the coroner's budget is not doing well, despite the fact that we increased it for 2023. But those are really the only two major anomalies. You can't typically tell a whole lot the first 3 months of the year. I am concerned about what we're going to end up expending in the coroner's budget, but fortunately, that's a pretty small budget overall. Other than that, I would say things are going according to plan in all of our tax-supported funds, so be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments from commissioners? No? I guess we have none. Okay, item number 5.
Commissioners' comments?
I attended the Fair Board meeting last Tuesday evening, and, you know, it's really hard to believe we're actually getting ready for August to get around here and get the fair started. They're working real hard and getting some different, since the rodeo is gone now, they're working real hard and getting some other events and stuff planned to where we can get people to attend, and hopefully that some of the stuff I can report to you next month after they get some of that locked down. They will be here on the 9th of next month. They'll be giving their budget request, or they're actually going to submit it to you on the 9th. I guess they won't be here, but they'll submit their budget request on the 9th of next month, and we'll just see where that goes from there.
Anyone else?
On the 18th, I attended the Building Authority meeting. I'm kind of the new kid on the block there. Some of you other commissioners have spent a lot more time and were a lot more involved in the projects that are ongoing now. So I'm just getting up to speed, but you can see a lot of the changes to the outside exterior. The facility is looking a lot nicer, a lot more user-friendly. New grass is coming up, and that's always a bright side. So on the 21st, I did attend the Senior County Department of Senior Services advisory meeting, and I won't go into that because Rosie just gave us her update. And this afternoon, I leave for Hayes for a 3-day conference for the Saline County Commission, or it's Kansas County Commission Association.
Okay. Move to item number 6.
Announcements?
Anyone have anything? All right, it looks like executive sessions are in order.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, staff would request that the commission recess to executive session under the attorney-client privilege exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act to discuss a matter of potential litigation for 7 minutes and reconvene in this room at 11:05.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we move into executive session for attorney-client privilege to last for 7 minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. We're in executive session. and there was no action taken. And we are now going to move into a second executive session for non-elected personnel. It was moved by Monty Shadwick to go into this executive session and seconded by Roger Sparks. Is that not correct? And it was, the motion was carried 5-0. And we're in executive session for 5 minutes. All right, we are back in regular session. I will say that there was no action taken, and that brings us to the end of our items that are on the agenda today. I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Five motions in 1 second. All right. Been moved and seconded that we adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.